There we
Anything that
go. Recording in progress.
anything we can't use right at the beginning, we can use as clips later.
There we go. So this is episode number 1 of the Barbells, Bootygains, and Bad Advice podcast. I'm here with my wonderful co-host and favorite client, Colleen O'Callaghan, and we're about to jump straight into all kinds of fitness-related, overarching theme of fitness topics, such as why the glute training trend for females is overall a good thing. Lessons learned for girls to take away who try to grow their lower body, aka buttocks. And then we do reserve the right to go off on all kinds of side tangents, rants, such as awkward gym approaches that we've witnessed, male-female dynamics in gyms that are super awkward as well to behold, and a few bonus topics, which are on my list right here.
I reserve the right to give as much bad advice as I can think of.
So, would you be so kind as to tell me, why do you think the glute training trend for women is a good thing?
Well, I think it's there's a lot of reasons for it. But first and foremost, there has never been a point in history where having a nice ass was out of fashion, no matter what size it is. And also it's just one of the pillars of what holds women up, in terms of our body and our muscular structure. That's one of our largest muscle systems. And it supports everything else you do, especially for athletes. If you're running or if you're powerlifting, regular lifting, just trying to stay in shape, that's one of your largest muscle masses, and you might as well develop it and make it work hardest for you, and make sure that it your posture's better when you have stronger glutes and legs and hamstrings. And as somebody that walks around with larger hips, from bone structure wise, it definitely reduces the amount of knee pain and hip pain that I experience on a regular basis. So I think it's ultimately it's just making your body even healthier. And that's always a good thing. Plus Kim Kardashian really did us a solid there.
I mean, you said something where it was never sort of out of fashion, whereas I feel like we had times that maybe during, I don't know, early 2000s or 90s, then of course fashion model ideal physiques, where I would definitely say we had a lot of times during recent decades where a super skinny, borderline anorexic look was something that was portrayed within the media to be desirable, to be an ideal physique for women to have to appear attractive. Whereas, of course, you can make a sound argument about how the hourglass shape is something that you're evolutionarily programmed to desire as a man, because it would signal good genetics to procreate with. But I would think that because we did have that trend within recent decades, that social media, ever since CrossFit and fitness during the early 2010s and going on with the rise of YouTube fitness and then Instagram, where young women figuring out that in order to grow their lower body and have a nice, appealing, athletic looking lower body, you would actually it'd be conducive to eat a little bit more and not starve yourself. Towards the end of a healthy portrayal of female body types, say not that much into something that's I think they call it body positivity nowadays.
Yeah.
But I feel it's a much more healthy body to want to have as a woman.
Yeah, well, I definitely would not I would not actually categorize women who are trying to be fit and healthy and build muscular structure. I actually wouldn't put them in the body positivity movement, mostly because the body positivity movement has completely excluded them. There are people that will insist that they haven't, but all you got to do is look at the comments section on a like one of those fitness influencers, or just like even a girl who's achieved a decent level of athleticism from her friends. Look at the comments on her posts and pictures when she shares photos of her body and her muscle, and like peer into the DMs that she gets from people that supposedly support and care about her. And I think you'll see really quickly that body positivity doesn't give a fuck about girls trying to be healthy or fit. I can speak from personal experience where I've gotten messages saying like, you know, you look fine. Why are you still working out? My friend who was a personal trainer got messages from one of her friends of like 7 years, like really good friends, saying, I need you to post less of your abs because you make me insecure. So I really wouldn't put wanting to be like fit and like have like strong muscular athletic bodies into the body positivity movement. They don't really want them in there, because it's a testament to what you can achieve if you take care of yourself instead of just looking at your body and being like, well, this is what it is. There are elements of it that are really healthy. And I think it is like a counterculture to the early 2000s rail thin fashion persona, the low-rise jeans and like the crop shirts and everything. But I will say that there were always like really attractive athletic superstars through that time. Like if you look at J-Lo, Beyonce, they all came up in the early 2000s and they didn't have that rail stick thin body. They had a lot of curve and they had that hourglass figure and they were still really popular. But fashion and media likes to portray the stick thin people because it acts as like a clothing hanger. And it photographs really well because like if you don't have any angles, then you don't have a bad angle. So there's like a little push and pull. And I think that for women that are trying to get in the gym and build like stronger bodies and stronger glutes, it's good to take a healthy dose of just like body neutrality or body acceptance into it, because the way I look when I work out is not the same as the way the other girls in the gym look when they work out. And the muscle that I build puts on a different shape on me than it would a different person. And being able to take a step back from myself and say like, that's how my body grows and it's fine, like there's nothing wrong with it, I think is a lot more powerful than like trying to convince myself that there's nothing else to improve or that there's nothing, you know, negative about anything. Because it's very negative that I have like one glute that's stronger than the other and I can fix that. But it's like not a bad thing that the really tall girl has abs when she like sneezes twice in the gym, and I'm out here with like way thicker thighs than she could ever hope to develop because like I'm shorter and more, I don't know, base heavy. I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, that makes sense. I probably shouldn't have even mentioned body positivity with all the like related side talks, and people hopefully not going to jump on me too much for even mentioning that while speaking from a place of ignorance over here, where there's something you mentioned right now with like unilateral training, which me as your coach, we've implemented quite a bit to work on some specific issues, as well as then as an overall trend. What would you describe like lessons learned for people who actually want to grow a lower body, like not only with food, but obviously with training related to that specific goal, where we also mentioned something about how much we dislike knowing what actually goes into the process of building that type of body, and how much like your favorite like Instagram where you go and browse and you see all kinds of girls with weird supersets and mostly like straight body weight, and you already know, sweet Jesus, this is definitely not what she did to build that ass.
No. Well, and there's also a lot of scandals around a lot of those influencers because there's always, I don't know how much stock I put into it, but there's always the accusation that their butt isn't real or isn't built. And it's not any help that Victoria's Secret just got busted putting like actual butt pads into their models to market their leggings. But I will say that in terms of like the best lessons that I've learned is the simpler your routine, the better. Because like the routine you wrote for me is very simple. It's literally just like squats and deadlifts and some split squats, like, but it's nothing. I'm not doing crazy amounts of like clamshells or donkey kicks or anything.
Like
And
my slight powerlifting bias when programming may
right,
shine through the mirror there.
I'm not supersetting with any weird stuff. I'm not spending like, I'm literally spending it maybe an hour and a half, hour 15 in the gym for a whole body workout. And I've built more muscle than we've officially, as of like last week, reached the point where I have like the best muscle structure and of my life now. Like, I don't think I've ever had this solid of a muscle base or this strong of a body or looked this good.
Yeah.
And it's also the simplest workout I've ever done, because it's crazy because I think that a lot of people get intimidated, especially now that we're coming up on New Year's and all the resolutioners are going to be in the gym for the next like 4 to 6 weeks. I think people get really intimidated because when you Google bodybuilding or like how to lift weights, you end up on bodybuilding.com, and the first thing that they're recommending to you is that 5-day classic workout split, which is like, chest on Monday, legs on Tuesday, which everybody skips anyway. And then like through the week, and you have like 12 or 13 or more exercises per workout per day. And you're in there for like 2.5 hours using every single piece of equipment available. And you're not really getting anywhere. And then you're intimidated because you're like, maybe I'm not doing this right. Whereas the reality is, the simplest plan is the most effective, even long term. Because we've been working together a year and I haven't even really plateaued. I mean, I've been inconsistent and slowed down, but
You're not going to.
I'm not plateauing. But the second part of that is you can't really underestimate how much you actually have to eat. And I think that's something that I still have to get over. Like, I spent a lot of my early 20s working my way, when I first started working out of the mind fuck that was the 1,200 calorie diet. And like, learned how to count macros, learned all the different diets that you could do, the 6 meals a day, the intermittent fasting, et cetera, et cetera. Eventually, like, I landed on what they're calling intuitive eating now, which even that isn't necessarily the best way, but it's just, when you first start, it can be very overwhelming, especially if you don't have somebody to guide you through about like what you should be doing, because there's hundreds of thousands of opinions out there and everybody's selling something. So it's really, really a lot more simple than they want you to believe, because if it wasn't, then they wouldn't sell as much. But again, it's like simple compound movements, and a good solid diet that includes everything from like not just proteins, but like carbs and fats and sweets and everything in moderation through your whole diet. And if you do it like that, then it's a lifestyle that you can maintain, and you're actually not miserable eating chicken and broccoli and rice every meal for weeks at a time until you break and like binge on 14 Dunkin' Donuts and a massive Coke from McDonald's.
I mean, that's a massive takeaway for people to write down. If people take nothing away from this conversation, but one thing is, like, you can probably get away with eating quite a bit more than you first thought was possible while still looking good, feeling sexy, and having a normal life and enjoy life quite a bit more. I think one thing that is very, very important to mention is lifting heavy. I mean, nowadays it seems to be a lot more obvious when you look at a lot of the girls that are doing great with like fitness model type of physiques, that a lot of them do show themselves on social media lifting heavy. But still, when you see like your average girl going to the gym, the first few sessions, probably going to be like also a little bit intimidated just from like a mental perspective to approach the whole thing, which leads me into another related side topic where I talked to you about this, where one fairly famous personal trainer mentioned that he would, according to the personality type of new female clients that he takes on, he may not have them in a squat rack the first sessions, just in terms of building confidence first. I could see how you could reasonably first set up introductions with like nice kettlebell or body weight exercise at first, just to get someone moving a bit and get them used to being a little bit more sore than usual, especially if they're fairly untrained or newbies to the gym in general. Whereas you, when I mentioned this to you, you made like a very sound argument of why you may still feel free as a trainer, or even as someone who doesn't have a trainer and who is new to the gym, just starting out, why they may still like muster the courage and just face the squat rack and start off really, really, really light and learn the basic movements.
Right. Well, I think it depends on your personality a lot. And I can definitely relate to women that are anxious about being judged in the gym. And there is like nasty male culture around women lifting heavy. There was like a few years ago, before I had the form that I have now, I posted myself doing like 1 plate squats on Instagram, and I was really proud of it. And the reality was my range of motion was not good, and I like barely made it to parallel. But the first comment on that video, and I don't have a lot of followers or anything, I just hashtagged it like bodybuilding. The first comment on that video was a stranger commenting like hashtag quarter squat gang, which like if you're on Reddit or anything, you know that there's like an entire side of the internet, mostly men, who record bad workouts to make fun of them. And if you look at the content of those workouts, it's a lot of women. It's like majority women. And I wonder how many of them are trying to figure it out. However, my personality is to just get over what you're anxious or afraid of, because
Face the fears.
Yeah, face them, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, the squat rack can be intimidating, and figuring out how to squat with perfect form or whatever is, feels like a monumental task, but it's not. It's literally, you go in, empty bar, you sit on your heels, and you stand back up. And if people want to judge you for that, you kind of have to let it go, because the reality is the same people that are sitting there judging you for like struggling with your form in the squat rack. And when I was in the squat rack this past summer doing like empty bar or 10-pound plates or whatever, I definitely felt very self-conscious, because that's like no weight at all. And I wanted to lift heavy, and I was embarrassed that I couldn't lift heavier. But I was sitting there building that muscle base, and those same people that I was worried about judging me, if I watched them, they never got in the squat rack at all, ever. So they really had no place to pass any sort of judgment. And then by realizing that they wouldn't even attempt what I was already doing, and their opinions became completely irrelevant. And I will say that particularly with lower body exercises, you have to check your ego at the door. With upper body exercises for me as well, like I have almost no ego involved, because my upper body just doesn't balance out the same way. But when you're learning how to squat or deadlift properly, even if you've been lifting for like 10 years like I was, I still had to like check myself at the door and relearn what I thought I knew, because a lot of the tips that I had read on the internet were not the best for my body. And by working with you, I was actually able to change my form around and get better cues that made my lifts stronger and the form better. And I think that a lot of people are just afraid to ask for help, or afraid to take any sort of criticism at all. And so they just don't, and they continue lifting with bad movement patterns until they work themselves into an injury, exactly like I did like 5 years ago. So it's, I don't know, that's my takeaway, is just do it, just try it. Because like if somebody laughs at you, that's saying a lot more about them than it is about you.
And for context, we had like a big transformation that you have undergone within in the last 12 months, where you started out with health-related super low body weight, which we're probably going to get into a little bit more detail, maybe in a later episode or something. But as you have put on a little bit more weight at first, whereas right now we're trying to like chisel down a little bit more, where like the transformation is so huge, especially what you mentioned with the squats, where I did check some videos from like quite a few months ago where you were like squatting, I don't know, 100 pounds, 110, whereas now to like consistently at all times having like medium rep ranges, 7 to 10 reps with 135 pounds and making it look easy and going almost constant tension, racing right, squatting deep. Like I still want to put up an Instagram post at some point to show like just like a squat transformation right there.
Yeah, I need to
It's
put that
impressive.
together because it is pretty impressive. And you can also see it's a little bit more subtle, but one of the biggest mistakes we've talked about before that people make is that they get into the gym and they start lifting weights, especially if you're coming from a low body weight like I was. They jump in the gym, they start lifting weights, and they want to do immediately a cut, right? They want to like cut down and see all their muscles. But the reality is that they don't really have much muscle mass to cut down to. Um, and I've been guilty of this as well. So instead of like lifting heavy, building that muscular base, they're kind of restricting what they're eating while they're trying to lift heavy, trying to lose weight. And instead of building any sort of like meaningful muscle or solid base or good movement patterns, they're kind of just like wearing their body down and getting weaker. And actually getting like, I've noticed in the past when I was doing stuff like that, I actually looked worse and looked like chunkier and fluffier because my body was just literally starving and trying to hold on to whatever it could. And I think that people would be really shocked about how much you could eat and still lose weight by building muscle.
Yes.
Except I wouldn't really call it losing weight. You can look like you're losing weight.
You have less body fat.
Yeah, staying the same. I even went up. I mean, I've gone up in weight. I went from like 125, 130 up to 145. And you can tell that I'm a little heavier, but that's just because the muscle mass underneath it is a lot bigger. But I look leaner and I look more fit and I don't really look as heavy as I am. Like one of my friends looked at me the other day and they were like, how much do you weigh right now? And I was like, oh, I'm about, 142. And he was like, no way. And I was like, yeah, it's just muscle weighs more than fat. So,
and also for context, when I said impressive, where like people may try to take a shit on that on the internet, because of course everyone on the internet squats 1,000,000 pounds and at like -5 body weight, where the context is like the progress that was made considering the starting point and the situation that you found yourself in with how much poundage you did. This coming from someone where I have coached girls squatting within 5 pounds of the national record in their age and weight group, who easily out squat most guys at the gym and make them look all like timid and scared to even then squat their own sorry ass working weights right next to them. But still then, for context, for clarification purposes, what Colleen did was nothing short of impressive considering where she came from and the type of shit that she had to deal with. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of nitty-gritty that we just covered.
Yeah, I think it makes it more accessible because it's hard to take people that already look amazing seriously when they say, oh, it's easy, blah, blah, blah. And like, that everybody has their own unique lives and they've done, X, Y, and Z to get where they are. And there's always hard work. Anybody that has an amazing physique has done a lot of really, really hard work. I am not the strongest person you're going to see in the gym. I'm not even like the second strongest person. I don't have the most amazing physique right now. I am not a fitness influencer. I'm not particularly good at writing my own plans. And I'm actually kind of a shitbag when it comes to like my diet and doing what I'm supposed to do, because I'm just kind of a gremlin as a human being. But what I did do was stay healthy through chemo and drag myself to the gym. So when people inevitably come into my life and they're like, oh, she's doing X, Y, and Z, because I work with a lot of men all the time. It's a very male dominated field, and male culture is to be competitive about everything and to kind of undercut the next guy until you're kind of top dog. When people try to undercut me for like how strong I am or am not, the way I look, what's going on with my life at that particular time, what I am and am not capable of doing, it just kind of makes me laugh, because I already know that one, my muscle base is more solid than they could ever hope for and very consistent. All my lifts are very consistent in their form, the movement patterns, the weights that I'm lifting, but also I already worked through something that they would have just like laid in bed and waited to pass. So the fact that I was able to drag myself to the gym 2 or 3 times a week in the middle of chemotherapy while I was rapidly losing weight and had no control, and push myself through that to the point now where I'm like, what am I, 9 months out of chemo and in the best shape of my life. It doesn't matter if I'm not strong as whatever dude is lifting 4 plates on Instagram. It doesn't matter.
And as a side note, me as her coach, Colleen really is a complete shitbag when it comes to her nutrition. Right before we started recording, we were going over her nutrition sheet, and literally has no entries for 5 days and has one on the 24th of December, where apparently for Holy Night, she had nothing but baked chicken while listening to Sound of Silence on repeat. So yeah,
I took
it's
my
a
depression
sad scarcity type situation.
I'm just
So
trying to get cut, coach.
so while we get to the part where we usually, after covering like nitty gritty more informative type stuff, while we already start talking shit and laughing, we may as well head over to the more entertaining type of topics, where one of the first ones we wrote down was like awkward gym approaches that we were witness to, where this one story was really good. There's this guy, like he was like a
We call him Batman.
sort of, I don't know, we always used to call him, he's basically Rumpelstiltskin. So he was like a powerlifter type dude that really messed himself up and couldn't really walk that good anymore, and also very, very insecure about himself at most times. And he said this girl was like, to be fair, she was really hot. Like, she was wearing tights, squatting, deadlifting heavy, usually like a little bit of a maybe like a justified smirk of arrogance on her
Well, hot
facial
girls
expression.
lift heavy in matching sets.
So like he was still squatting, and she came in, and he was like like falling over backwards, like, if you want to use the rack, I can just step aside and blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking the last guy that fucked her was probably much, much less polite about any type of verbal interaction. But you smell like cologne and you're limping all over the place. I mean, may as well give it a shot, right? So
He'd have better luck if he smelled like sex. He'd have better luck if he smelled like sex and was like very rude to her.
The one story that you told me though about
Batman
crop top guy. You
Yeah,
should talk about crop top guy.
Crop Top. He's my favorite. Honestly, I used to hate him, and now I kind of look forward to him every workout because I just know I'm gonna see some real good shit. But he's been going there to the same gym as me for like 3 or 4 years, and I call him Batman because he always wears all black all the time. And recently, like in the past year, he started doing weird shit where he like flips his tank top or t-shirt up into a crop top, like underneath his pecs and other shit. And I mean, he's got abs. I don't know, like good for him, I guess. But like he's got like very small calves. And I've never seen him do any sort of leg day exercise or anything, but he literally, so he walks around crop top. I don't want to talk too much shit about him because I guess like at least he's in the gym.
Yeah, you probably should though.
He walks around with his shirt flipped up like literally like I would do when I was 12 to make a crop top, like fold the hem up under and over my chest.
This is no holds barred over here. Like at this point.
So that his abs are out. And he's got like nice shoulders because that's pretty much all he works out. But so I'm over by the free weights, and there's this other girl that goes to the gym. She's really cute, really small, matching set, like just an adorable girl, lifts weights as heavy as she can. And I was working out without headphones, and I was just doing like my exercises, and I was kind of close by her. And he like walks up at a small gym, so everybody talks to each other all the time, like especially the regulars around 5 o'clock. He was like walking up and he's talking to her, and I wasn't really paying attention. But then I hear him say, like, he's like obviously trying to flirt with her. And I hear him say something like, he starts talking about his room and his apartment and how it's a mess. And I remember turning my head like, is this is your playing? Like, this is the move you're making? And she's talking back.
Aren't you getting ahead of yourself, like just like ever so slightly? Aren't there like few steps in between in your pimp's playbook in order to get someone to clean your house?
And the girl, she's like doing her workout, right? Like I think she's doing curls or something. She's just standing there like very awkwardly, and she's obviously trying to be polite, like, and talk back to him. But he's like, yeah, I like my apartment's just like a mess all the time, and like I don't know, I'm just not very good at keeping it clean. And she's sitting there, and she's just like, well, maybe you could make like a chore list. And I'm just like choking, screaming, crying, ready to throw up. Like this man is trying to flirt with her, and she's just over there just like, why are you telling me that you're a slob? And it was so funny. And I don't know. But then I got my karma for laughing at that when the 80-year-old man walked up to me the other day and called me a naughty girl because my socks said fuck you. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's the sad reality of the situation when you're trying to find a sugar daddy, but you live in middle of nowhere in the Midwest. There's just no guys around with money.
I got an 80-year-old man in the gym and thinks my fucking socks are cool. Wants to know we could buy them. And he said it so weird. He was like, you naughty girl. And I was like, ugh. Like mid-bench, I was ready to just drop it on my throat and call it a life. Like, I'd had enough. It was too much. But yeah, it was just funny. I was like, you can approach women at the gym, but like, bro, maybe you should have said like, oh, I like your outfit or something. Like her top was really cute. You could have been like, that's a cool shirt. You know, you could have been like, hey, I've noticed you've been getting stronger. That's a good compliment if you're gonna go for.
Oh, I did that this works all the time, telling girls that they're really strong. It works it's very, very, very safe. There's like, even.
I remember in college, I dated a guy, and now he's like a really good friend of mine still. It's been like 10 years. I dated him strictly because he walked up to me in the gym when I was doing like one arm rows or whatever and was like, your form is really good. And I was just like, dang, and we dated for months.
Yeah.
Like, you can hit on girls in the gym, but maybe just don't tell her about your dirty apartment.
Well,
maybe don't tell her about your inability to keep things clean in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
We're not out here.
Girls, your strong works every single time. Especially if it's like heartfelt and it's true, then it's special.
Oh yeah. If one of the regulars walked up to me during one of my workouts and was like, hey, I noticed you got really strong this year, I would be, I don't know. I would be
you seen those guns, homie?
I'd probably just look at him and be like, do you want to get married now or later? Like after the workout or in the middle of it?
Yeah. I mean, and then will be like an appropriate segue to lead into the next bonus topic where you were talking to me earlier about how you recommended strategies to your guy friend of how to set up first traps. On the internet, I think on the internet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was helping my friend. So
what could crop top guy possibly have done better in order to set up a real like, I can't keep my house clean, and why don't we skip dinner the first date, the second, the third, and the fourth, and you go straight to cleaning? I gotta grab a glass of water while you start talking.
Okay. Yeah, actually, it was the same guy that hit on me 10 years ago in the gym and told me I had nice rowing form. I've been friends with him ever since, even though we don't date anymore. And I have been like posting since I'm doing this little mini cut. I've been posting more since my body looks better. And of course, like women have a death grip on Instagram with their ass pics. And I'm like no stranger to the thirst trap. And so he sent me this photo. He's cut too right now. He's cutting down. He's like at 191 or whatever. And he sent me this photo, and it was just like messy bathroom sink, yellow light. And he was like, would I be a thought for posting this? And I was like, well, no, you can like, don't post this photo. I was like, you look good. Nothing around you looks good. So I'm literally, at 8:30 this morning while he's driving to work, giving him the play-by-play for how to take a good thoughty ass pic or whatever, or like display your gains better. And literally, he's actually going to call me later today.
So this is more like a what not to do. So if you're trying to set up a first step,
like if you're
get rid of your messy bathroom.
First of all, clean your background. Make your bed, whatever is behind you, make sure it's clean. Because you just like it's not even about like, I don't know, you just make sure that you look like somebody that's at least has a semblance of mental health. Like, I don't know, like it's just too much. But then best way to get these traps is I prefer like white light if you can't find natural light. So, and overhead lighting is the best because you just look like super jacked. But if you can't do overhead lighting, then you want to get like a strong side angle light, like not straight on, because that just washes you out. These are like my top pro photography tips right here. I'm not even like Instagram famous yet, but this is all my design training coming out at once. So
anyone, did you notice the frame control? I'm not Instagram famous yet. Like full on 100% implication of.
I like to keep the possibility open. I don't know
how you control your frame, people.
It's in the long-term plan to end up notorious. That's it. But so overhead lighting, white light or natural light, or strong side angle, right? Find where the shadows fall, make it natural. And I like cool lighting because I'm a pale person, but there are some people that do better with warm lighting. I don't know. You have to figure that out. That's a journey people have to take on their own. And then like have to hit the pose. Like you have to get a good pose. So I'm literally standing there in my bedroom mirror this morning, taking photos in masculine poses for him so that he knows like how to stand, so that like, because you can flex while you take these photos, but you have to look natural. Otherwise you look goofy. There's nothing that cracks me up more than like seeing some guy take a mirror pic and he's just like, and his face is like literally got like that. I don't know if he's constipated or about to come, but his face is just like real.
That was cold.
And I mean, it's a fact. So I was like sitting there and I was like showing him, I was like, you have to stand like this. You have to like relax your face. You have to like put a little attitude on it, work the light, snap the pic in the pose, and then do the edits, like up the contrast, darken the black point, make it so, because he's also got like a ton of tattoos. And I'm like, your tattoos are as much a thirst trap as your muscles are right now, bro. It's like you're walking around in $40,000 skin. Like show that people don't take pictures of their Lexus from like the weird side bad light angle. They whip that car out in the middle of traffic, turn the wheel, and make sure that they get the shine on it. So don't take pictures of yourself trying to thirst trap people in your dirty bathroom with yellow light. Like just follow Pinterest, follow Instagram, get on there and copy their poses because they work, and you'll have like men and women in your inbox sending you heart eyes and flame emojis asking how your day was and if you need any money. So
everything worth doing is worth doing badly. Well, it's exactly. Like a very nice takeaway for people. I was thinking the exact same thing earlier in the gym, because a few days ago I made like for the first time in like 9 years made a new tattoo appointment. I'm like, if either you can get ripped or you can alternatively just get a ton of tattoos, and you probably have like, if you can afford them, or you have like a friend that does ragged shit in his garage as well. I mean, make for some
for the memory. I would get sticker post. Thing I did. I would let some high schooler do it too for authenticity. I mean, if you're gonna do it, you might as well.
Oh, yeah, like my second tattoo I had done in private on my calf, and it looked like complete shit. Like a girlfriend of mine, she's like, man, you really stepped on it right there. Like really stepped on the gas with it. Yeah, I guess. But yeah. Luckily I did get that professionally fixed within the professional studio that I trust here in town. But there you go.
No, but it is true that everything worth doing is worth doing badly. Like before, so I'm not the best at posing for photos or taking photos. I've gotten significantly better. I'm also, I mean, that goes for everything. I'm not the best at anything, but like, I'm the best at being the worst though. Like I'll own that one. I am the best at being the worst, but I got like significantly better by just practicing all the different shit that I'm bad at. Part of it's just like the way I think about things. I see anything I'm bad at as like a good opportunity for me to get even cooler. So I tend to purposely find what I'm not good at and go after it until I get good at it. And a lot of it is like, especially with photos, with workouts, you have to do it badly first. And then you kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work. Like if you looked at my camera roll, there are hundreds of selfies that are not good alongside like hours and hours of bad lifting footage. And then within those like hundreds and hours of footage and selfies, there's like 4 or 5 good selfies and maybe like 2 or 3 solid sets. And then over time, like it gets to be like, oh, maybe I take 5 photos and 4 of them are really good. Maybe I record like 3 sets and 2 of them are really good. But I mean, I had to be terrible at it first. Because if you're not terrible at it, then like you have nothing to improve. And if you have nothing to improve, then you're not going anywhere.
Shameless Petersonian plug, where there's definitely also something very nice to take away, where you may as well just get a few things done and get better while you're getting more of the same things done is always a much better self-improvement strategy than either not doing shit or being a perfectionist at all times, where you can live a very comfortable life if you're just ever so slightly above average in a bunch of very useful areas in your life. But yeah.
Well, it's like my personal mantra is to live every day with the confidence of a mediocre white man, because like it doesn't matter what you're doing. There is somebody out there doing it horribly and like are 100% confident in themselves. And honestly, good for them. That's what I aspire to live like. I don't even care if I do everything my whole life badly. I'm going to do it looking as good as possible. Yep. And I'm just going to, like, I just choose to believe that I'm figuring it out. But that's one of the reasons why I went with you over any other personal trainers, because we have the same mindset of like a good habit 70% of the time is better than a perfect habit 10% of the time. So I think that if a lot of people approached their lives with like, let me do decent 60 or 70% of the time, and then I can be a total piece of shit 30% of the time, eating fake chicken on Christmas Eve alone in the darkness, then they'd be a lot happier and they would get a lot farther and they'd be stuck to their goals a lot stronger and a lot more consistently.
I feel like a whole lot of people would be much more interested in maybe actually even having a fitness coach or a nutrition coach or someone that advises them a little bit, if people who are not within the sphere of that just yet or haven't stepped foot in a gym, if they would realize that nowadays there's so much knowledge out there and so many people that do know their stuff, where people think it's so much hardcore discipline involved when really there's not. You can set up your life really comfortable and even have a comfortable life that's a higher quality of life, because you actually have a little bit of a hormonal balance established, as opposed to just sitting in your home office job or being sedentary.
Working out changes your brain chemistry, and like I consider myself a more disciplined person than most, because when I set out to do something, it's like I put it into my routines. Like that's really the secret, is that I've built routines that let me be kind of a lazy piece of shit while still accomplishing what I need to accomplish. But like in terms of like my everyday life, I'm not super disciplined. Like we know that I suck at tracking my diet, and mostly I suck at tracking it because I suck at sticking to a diet. Like I love to eat, and I love to eat junk. Like I'm a raccoon in the garage right now. But at the same time, like even though I suck at maintaining my diet and like recording it, I still get to the gym on a regular basis, which kind of balances it out. And then I am striving all the time to at least make myself like 10% better at what I'm eating. So like how you've been nagging me for the past year to log at least like one meal a day or every other day, like working
It's
that
what people need to realize, that there's always the next best thing, as
right.
opposed to 100% discipline where you have no joy, you're miserable, you're at home. Okay, you're ripped, but you eat
Yeah,
dry chicken and broccoli,
my life right
and
now for the
just you
past
have no quality of life. There's a lot of people out there nowadays that fortunately um do propagate this type of lifestyle where you can still have a nice life, nice quality of life, and still like go
there's
for
like
the next best thing.
yeah, there's like this rise and grind culture that is, it's always been very weird to me, where it's like it's not just in fitness but like entrepreneurs and everything, like the hustle culture where people like, oh, you have to get up and you have to give 100% every day and you have to blah blah blah, or you're never going to get where you're going. So you have to like hit the gym twice a day and eat your chicken and rice, and then you're going to go work on your business ventures and no time for fun. Don't be your friend. Stay home alone. Like you're going to be fat, you're going to be hot. People are going to want you, but they can't have you. And it's like, that's not how any of that works. And the people that are selling that lifestyle are not even living that lifestyle, because they're literally getting paid to sell that lifestyle. So they spend maybe 8 hours a day. Like, yeah, they can go to the gym twice a day because they don't go to their day job like that. They don't have a day job. That's their job, is to be in the gym and then post pictures of the chicken and rice that they meal prepped on Sunday. And yeah, they might eat that once a day, but then you see them on their Instagram stories later that night and they're at a bar with a large group of very attractive friends. And it's like, what's really going on here is that none of you are living like that. You're just kind of like word vomiting into each other's mouths while you jack each other off on your own like hustle culture.
Sounds pretty good to me, honestly.
Peel back the layers and you have to ask yourself, like, are they really successful? Yeah. How much, like, are they really? It's like that Bitcoin guy that was in your inbox. Like,
oh yeah, I texted him again.
Driving the Lambo, but then cold calling you. Like, are you really that rich?
And he was so desperate to the point where he told, man, bro, I'd even go to the gym if you want me to, if you just buy my crypto investment program. And I told him, like, yeah. If you're really super rich, why are you putting this much effort into cold texting people? This is not giving you a good look.
I'm just saying that I'm a moderately hot girl that's active on social media and
very modest. Very modest.
Bill Gates has never been in my inbox asking me to buy his programs. So I'm instantly suspicious of anybody that's always like, always give 100%. I don't know, maybe give like 70% most of the time. And then sometimes just don't give anything at all. Like, yeah, I think you'll be a lot happier and a lot more 70%.
Make that 70% your minimum, but do that shit 100% of the time, and you're going to have most of the results and be far happier at the end of the day. Since you mentioned like cultural phenomena like that, that's like we can go into a deep rabbit hole next time about that young entrepreneurial class next time, which everyone knows I love so much, where we're talking about like that new cultural phenomenon that everyone's been raving about in that, say, fitness space of the internet, about Step on Me Mommy. And before we start recording, Colleen told me a whole bunch of funky stuff that was going on in her DMs that actually surprised me, where the, like, on the surface level, a lot of the reactions is what sort of started a shitstorm, where many male content creators were pretty vocal about like how worrisome, like how much they're worried about how far young men seem to be willing to degrade themselves.
Yeah,
in face of powerful females. It's strange.
It's definitely, it's interesting. I actually, our friend Ben and I had a really long conversation about this, because he actually watched some of it play out in front of in front of him, like he never believed me because I told him that I was having this problem because I'm in the infantry and because I work with men and I'm like very in tune with like male culture and how men communicate, and I can communicate back pretty clearly. And also like I just kind of have like the attitude of like powerful, whatever, get out of my face, I don't care, which I've like developed and earned over the years. He watched it play out where we were out getting drinks with a group of his friends who are also highly successful people. And we were at this like kind of expensive cocktail bar, and there were 4 of us, 3 guys, me, and I was just like chatting, having a good time, flirting with, you know, in good nature. And Ben was trying to set me up with his friend who, and he, I guess, had prepped his friend in advance and was like, listen, dude, like when you meet her, just talk to her like she's a normal person. But if you want to go hang out with her later, don't ask her what she wants to do. Tell her what you're going to go do. Right. He was like, tell her.
It's very sound advice, very sound
Yeah,
advice
it
in
is sound
general
advice.
of how to behave.
Right. Because like the thing is, I'm large and in charge in every aspect of my life. And if I'm looking at partners, I want somebody else that's also large and in charge. And I don't want to be the one that has to make all the decisions all the time, because I've been in that relationship multiple
No
times.
woman wants that.
Right. It's
Secret,
just
the secret's out, guys. It's
no,
out.
I don't. No mentally healthy woman wants that. I do believe that there are women who enjoy being in charge and degrading people, and I'm not convinced that they're happy or healthy in any way. I could be wrong. Somebody in the comments will probably come after me, but I don't really care. I don't think that they're healthy. And so so he's told his friend, like before I even arrive, he's like, if you want to go hang out with her after, tell her. And this guy was like a food critic or whatever. Like, so we're at a bar that he recommended already. And we're sitting there talking, evening goes on. The other 2 are like, hey, we're gonna head back, you know, we're done. And this guy has been like kind of flirting with me, whatever, back and forth. And he looks at me and he goes, well, what do you want to do next? And I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you, and Ben told me straight up, he said, watch me shut down. I literally looked at this guy and I was like, I don't know. I'm in a city that I'm not familiar with. You're some food and drink critic in this city, and you just asked me what I wanted to do. Like, bro, you killed your own game.
Shit the bed right there.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, I'm no longer interested. I was like, well, okay, had enough. And it's a pretty common occurrence with me and like with other women who are like really trying to get out there and like meet interesting dudes, is that they kind of shit the bed like that by I don't know, like they go to like very submissive behavior from the start. And I think a lot of it is that we have like this feminist culture that is like, you know, be respectful of women and don't talk to them and don't approach them unless you have permission. But like, how do you get that permission? And the reality is a lot more nuanced than that. But I literally also have the flip side of that is I have people that have gotten in my inbox before, in my DMs, and sent me a message, hey, you're really pretty. I want you to degrade me. I'll pay you to degrade me. Like, I have that message in my inbox. And I just like, part of me was like, get the bag. But the other part of me was like, I'm not that person. And I don't think I'd feel good about myself if I sat there. And he was a young guy. He was like 25. So like young dude. And he was like, I will pay you to degrade me. And I honestly, I should have sent him some mean shit in a Venmo request. But like, I don't think I would feel good about myself if I treated somebody like that. And that definitely is not what does it to me. Like, I am not into that kind of behavior from myself or from anyone around me. And I just think like we've reached this point in our society where women no longer particularly need men because we can have our own bank accounts and our own careers and our own financial freedom. And the backlash to that is like men really don't know how to interact with women anymore. So they've become like, a lot of them have become very submissive. And then also we've got these like pickup artist types who are trying to peddle some like alpha male mentality, which is also completely ineffective. It's just a strange time to be alive. Dating is garbage. 0 out of 10 stars.
A lot of what you just mentioned is obviously going to be very fake, but you still have very. So I graduate from a college campus that had like substantial majority female students on campus, where it's just a plain fact, obviously, of the how society is set up right here, or within that little microcosm, where you will then obviously have a situation that ends up where a small majority, sorry, a small minority of men like have a whole bunch of women, and a majority of men are by themselves playing video games at home and not getting any. I mean, where just those small things where like something that you just mentioned, which is sound advice, or just even at least, even if it's about like making first good impressions, at least act like you're a little bit high value and are able to take a lead. Or then especially like girls that like you within the scope of their profession or what they do, um, are in a position, in a leadership position, where then especially in your free time, your private life, you would be very happy to be a girl once in a while and have a man take charge and take the lead.
Yeah.
So other
It's
than
very
that, that's like a
like
nice
it's
101 of what not to do.
right.
Um,
It's very much about competency. It's not about like, I mean, gender biases are real, whatever, all that shit exists. It's always going to exist. But like if you want to be like a high value person in general, you have to be a competent person. And part of that competency is being able to communicate competently. Like you can be an outright asshole to me and I still might end up being attracted to you if what you're doing is very competent in the process. Like the way I connect with people is giving them a lot of shit because I know that that's like, I don't like, it's just the way I grew up with 5 brothers. It's how I communicate with a lot of my peers in my career. So I am very comfortable, going back and forth, shit talking, whatever. But when it comes down to like the actual actions you have to take, you have to show me that you're capable and competent of handling your business. Because the rest of it's surface shit. Like whether you approach me in the gym, in the grocery store, on an app, whatever, all of that is just superfluous bullshit. Anybody can be funny. Anybody can be attractive. Anybody can like talk a good game. But when it comes down to that like deciding moment of what do you want to do after this, I need to know, because that tells me everything I need to know about how they handle the rest of their life. Like if we're out at a bar and I'm actively flirting with you and giving you all the indications that like, yes, this door is pretty open and we can walk through it, and then you shut the door on me through like a idiotic, like, what do you want to do thing, that tells me that for the rest of our relationship, anytime we reach any kind of friction point, it's going to be, well, what do you want to do about it? And that's exhausting. Like if I wanted to solve all my problems on my own, I would stay alone, and which is exactly what I'm doing. Like I think that goes for a lot of women.
There's nothing that you said where nowadays in our Western societies, where women don't really need men, but do they really? Is that really how it is? Is that really how women set up their lives? If you look at what they're actually trying to do, as opposed to how many really like subscribe to like you could say like typical masculine dynamic of going 100% after your career in a pretty masculine fashion.
I think it depends. I think the majority of women have realized that they don't particularly need a man in their life, but I think that a lot of women still would like a competent partner that they enjoy being around and want to spend time with. And so because we are social creatures, so I think that that's part of it.
No.
It, like even though the need is not there, the desire is still there. But I think that a lot of like men have been groomed to believe that they need to be necessary instead of needing to be interesting and like solid partners. So it's kind of a weird, like, it's kind of a weird friction right now between expectations and realities between men and women.
I mean, what you said right there about competency lines up very, very well about something that I assume to be true, where it's much, much more important to have respect and respect that. Where you mentioned like the guy that maybe up front seems like a bit of an ass, where I've had ex-girlfriends that said, when we first met, I thought you were such an ass with the shit that you said, but she still respected me. She still went home with me. So like
Yeah.
that's the thing where it's much more like men assume within their ignorant nature that being friendly is gonna get them anywhere. Like maybe even when you ask them about it, they may not frame it this way,
Mhm.
but this is how they act. Whereas like having mutual respect, like which probably goes along if you deem someone competent in any type of endeavor,
Mhm.
where respect, especially at first, within the steps of getting to know someone or the first few dates, or even just meeting, is probably far more important right there.
Right. Well, because somebody with healthy boundary is going to defend those boundaries, and it's not going to be particularly warm and fuzzy when they do. And then it comes down to also like you can be a nice person um, and still kind of interact with people in a way that challenges them to really show you who they are, which I think people kind of forget in social interactions. You're not just meeting somebody and getting to know their favorite color. Like when you encounter people in the wild, you're literally challenging them to see like what kind of animal they are. And so that's why assholes are really popular among women, because even when they're like only an asshole, not even competent in anything, the first indication is that they're a little bit more competent or a little bit more like strong as a person. Um, Whereas like you meet like that asshole's not trying to manipulate you into believing anything about them other than the fact that they are like a big gorilla of a person and you can take it or leave it, right? It's very straightforward. Whereas I think every woman has had the experience where they've met a nice guy who was, you know, very polite, very friendly, very nice to them, and then they're like thinking that they've like had a good time and met a nice person, and then that person's like, okay, well, now you're going to sleep with me, right? Because I just did all this nice stuff to manipulate you into liking me enough to like, you know, return the favor of all the money I just put into you. And I can tell you, like, all the girls that I know would prefer somebody just straight up be an asshole and be like, hey, come home with me, than somebody be like, let me take you to dinner. Let me like be really nice to you. Let me try to form an emotional connection. Okay, all I wanted was sex.
And
Like,
you have like a little bit as a man, that doesn't mean be an ass at all times, where you can still be
right.
very charming, very polite, you can be a gentleman. But if during that process you're at least sort of taking the lead, okay, this is the restaurant we're going to go to. Okay, I'm going to pick you up. Then we're going to go there. And maybe you're going to give a present if you're nice. So like if there's a certain narrative, you can still be friendly and a gentleman within the scope of that, while you still have a semblance of competence and having taken the lead to an extent. And then maybe you you may still be successful while being friendly. But just yeah, the just flat out playing out a guy that has nothing going for him, but being friendly and polite, probably gonna fall pretty fucking short on this dating market.
Right. Well, and human interaction is extremely nuanced, and like there's a lot of other factors about each individual person and the way they grew up and everything. And I could tell you that, like, from the moment I meet somebody and think, like, oh, that person's kind of attractive, I start, like, consciously or not, making a list of like pros and cons for them. So, like, I've had people hit on me before, like really nice people, respectable people, successful people, whatever they were, they've hit on me. And I've been like, you know what, you're a good person and I like respect you a lot, but I can tell just by looking at you that our lifestyles are dissimilar and therefore we will not be like compatible people at this stage. Like, potentially, if that person went on to like, I don't know, change their lifestyle a little bit for themselves, then maybe, but like there's a lot of like we like to pretend, and especially coming back to body positivity, we like to pretend for whatever reason that like um appearance doesn't matter as much or whatever. Like that's the lie that they're trying to sell you, is it doesn't matter what you look like, it matters what's inside of you. But it matters what you look like, because what you are on the what you are on the outside reflects what's on the inside more than anybody is comfortable admitting. Really, the way you look, the way you present yourself to the world is often a reflection of everything that you have going on inside. So first impressions matter, appearances do matter. You don't have to look amazing every day, but like it comes down to, do you care about yourself or do you not? Like, do you take pride in who you are or do you not? Like, and everybody's saying something different, which is kind of fun, but at the end of the day, what people see you do is how they're going to perceive you and how they're going to read into the person you are. So like, I go out, I see somebody, you can be in an amazing outfit. If you don't look like you're an active or fit person, I'm instantly going to make that judgment of, you know, you're not fitting in my lifestyle and I'm not interested, which is like everybody's prerogative to do. But if you're going after high quality people, then you had better start presenting as a high quality person, because they're going to look at you and think, you know, that's a high quality person or that's not, and they're going to categorize you accordingly.
I mean, this just also goes to show where, I mean, you should probably have a little bit of a realistic, um, like a realistic judgment of where you hold up on like say like a scale of what's acceptable within that. Like people should have some type of estimation of their own value within several endeavors, and then just like
And
don't
you can increase your
overreach
value too.
right?
You can increase your value pretty easily. And you don't even necessarily have to spend a lot to do it. Like a lot of people think that to be like to increase your visual value, maybe you need to wear more designer or whatever. That's not true at all, because like the reality is that's a aspiration, right? Like designer brands, luxury brands are selling aspiration, but you can make yourself a more high value person by taking care of your body, like getting on a good fitness routine, diet regime, like whatever it is, get your body healthy and strong, because it's going to improve the way you stand and the way you walk and the way you interact. And like a lot of micro movements, as well as like your skin will improve, your hair will improve, all of that. But also just doing like a simple elevation of your wardrobe, and like changing the way you dress or present, or like getting a good barber, maintaining a solid, like a nice beard instead of like a weird scraggly, like pubic style beard, having a decent haircut, getting like the right, you know, feeling for what you're trying to portray will give you a higher value. I think one of the reasons why brands like Gymshark and like Able and all the other brands that are, like you see them on like all the fitness influencers that wear the matching sets, etc. I think that they're so popular because that stuff looks nice. Like even if you look at the actual body and they're just kind of like, you know, not super, I don't know, amazing physiques or whatever, like they look put together, they look really nice, and they're presenting really well, like from the way they're posing to the lighting that they're in to the outfit that they're wearing. None of those things are super expensive or super unattainable, but the whole package together ups the value of what you perceive.
You know, where a little bit of like being well groomed goes a long way. Having like a high standard of hygiene, or at least putting like a minimum effort into your own physical fit will always go a long way. Whereas then these superficial things, like say a nice car, a nice watch, some nice jewelry, or nice designer clothes, all of these things will only ever get you like the first 10 to 15 seconds of attention. But if you're then not able to like continue any type of interaction of any type of fashion while being interesting and respectable, it's not going to matter at all. Where then the next best guy that's wearing a $15 t-shirt is probably going to do way better if he is able.
Yeah, because
keep
that 1%
filtering
of
those.
guys that are like getting the population of girls' attentions, that like 1%, they're just presenting as higher value. Like there's
Yeah.
somebody you want to be seen with. I went one time, I was like seeing this guy and we were gonna go work out together and everything was going real good. Like we had similar lifestyles, similar interests. Somebody challenged me. It was all going really, really good. And then we showed up at this gym together and he was in a cut off flannel shirt and like dirty sweatpants. And when I tell you, I no longer wanted to be seen with this person ever. I was like, do not perceive me with this person. Do not associate me. And that's me. Like, I'm very petty like that. And I know that not everybody is, but I was horrified that that's what he put on his body and went into the wild to be seen with me. And then I was in like leggings and like a cute top or whatever.
But what if the sweatpants would have been clean and very nice, stylish sweatpants?
It would have been fine. It would have been, but the flannel still, the flannel I couldn't do. The cutoff.
It's pretty fucking popular right now, right?
I know that like Ronnie Coleman did that where he like wore the flannel and no, that worked for Ronnie Coleman. It doesn't work for, average Joe in the gym.
On a really nice flannel lumberjack last week.
Yeah, it was.
It's really nice.
Flannel is a great thing, but like, do you really want to wear that good flannel with cut off sleeves in the gym with a girl you're trying to impress? I think not. And it was such a good like picture of like, this is a competent, capable, successful person that I no longer perceive as valuable because like I was horrified. I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, walk in behind me 10 feet. Like,
this is a sad enough note to end today's show on, because we're going like for like a nice juicy hour. I feel like it's nice. Oh, yeah. Nice and concise right there. So
professional hater is
what are your like social media addresses if people want to find you?
You can find me at Colleen OFC on everything. So Colleen a fucking course or oh fucking Callahan. Yeah. On
like Mr. Bison used to say, of course. So if people want to find me and may even have like a serious interest into getting some online fitness coaching, you can find me at the email address in the description box. And thank you so much for everyone that's has such a abundance of time on their hands that they may still be listening about 1 hour into this shit show.
With very bad advice.
All right. Goodbye then.
Bye.